10 wins the new standard or an aberration? Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, talking Syracuse. Please lock it in right here if you love college football for the best discussion, debate, and analysis. We've got John Casillo on the line from Noon's Magician. It is the SB Nation platform for Syracuse football and athletics overall. John, how you doing today?
Good, Mark. How about yourself?
I'm good. I am good. I don't know that we've spoken since previewing the bowl game against West Virginia. So I need to let you bask a little bit, because this is certainly the most successful season in terms of wins and losses ranking that we've seen out of Syracuse football in almost 20 years. So regardless of what happens now in 2019 and going forward, your thoughts about the 2018 season and your satisfaction in delivering 10 wins and the second best win total and ranking in the entire conference.
I mean, feels pretty good. I know that, Syracuse had a little bit of a rough go of it starting in the ACC. Things didn't necessarily work out with Scott Schaefer. Since then, I think, Dino Babers has really put this program on a road to, not just hopefully one-off success like we had last year, but, lasting success. And you're starting to see a lot of those additions in terms of depth. You're seeing young guys really work their way quickly up the depth chart. See somebody like Andre Cisco last year who got, All-American honors. So guys like that, you're starting to see work their way into the depth chart, and it's starting to, even push some of the upperclassmen out as Syracuse is adding, more quality depth and more quality players overall in the last few years.
Yeah, to go from 4-8 the first two seasons, and we saw flashes, obviously, with a Virginia Tech win in that first season under Dino Babers, and then the monumental win against Clemson at home. But to go from that place in the conference and then to supersede all of what are the expected and kind of known peers in Boston College and Wake Forest and those teams, but then also to supersede Florida State and North Carolina State, and of course Louisville just came crashing down. And then in the other division, Miami, with all the talent that's recruited and on the roster, only winning 7 games to elevate past everyone, excluding the national champions, is quite astounding.
I mean, I enjoyed it. We were only a couple minutes away from beating the national champs too. So.
Absolutely. That was their game of the year in terms of what they needed to get past. And of course, Texas A&M took them down to the wire as well. But 4th and 6, and you make the stop there, and then it's probably your game on the road against Clemson. Pretty remarkably. Now we look forward to 2019. And before we talk about the spring sessions and what transpired in the spring game and on the field for 15 sessions, there are a few news and notes in regards to recruiting.
Yeah, so Syracuse is, not starting as fast as some other programs in terms of the 2020 cycle, but did add a couple 3-star running backs, both from Maryland. We got Sean Tucker, who's actually a track star as well. Kind of fits Dino Babers, fast mantra. And seems like, exactly the type of addition that he's been making pretty regularly. And then Marlo Wax, who's a running back, also plays some linebacker. So we'll see where he slots in. But Syracuse potentially has this running back situation for 2020 figured out already in terms of recruits with those 2 guys. I don't know if we'd really add a third from there. But good start to things. I think Syracuse fans are willing to be patient at this point, given the fact that, Dino did deliver a 10-win season. And I think, we're just going to start seeing, the benefits of that on the recruiting trail. And I think it could see a nice uptick and maybe some 4-star guys coming in the program this year.
We've got John Casillo on the line from SB Nation's Noon's Magician. If you catch him right there and the rest of the staff, you get up to date on all of Syracuse athletics and football as we wind down the spring with the spring game this past Saturday. So, John, I'll leave the floor open to you in regards to not just focusing on the spring game, because we can only take so much from that, a bit of a glorified scrimmage, depending on what the coach approached the setting in regards to the rules and put in motion in terms of tackling and so forth. But really the entire session, what were the storylines? What stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, because I'm not in Syracuse, there was no option to watch for me. That said, for those that were there, and we had a couple guys on site covering from the sideline, definitely seemed like the offensive line actually looked a lot better than we thought, considering we're dealing with a couple injuries. We're missing 3 starters from last year. Defensive line also looked really strong. I know those 2 things might seem counterintuitive, but Syracuse's defensive line is definitely going to be, the strength of that side of the ball this year. We lost Chris Slayton in the inside. He's somebody who's probably going to get drafted in a couple weeks, but we have developed some really nice depth there. So guys like Kendall Coleman, Alton Robinson, guys who were angling to get drafted potentially in the first half of the NFL draft in 2020, should really come on pretty well. I think people also, take it with a grain of salt on guys like Tommy DeVito. Everyone's excited about, what he brings to the table, and we saw a little bit of what he can do last year. But even with the limited kind of contact that he was going to receive, I think people just liked, to see some crispness on passes, him working with the first team a little bit more, and some accuracy. I think the name that really stuck out to a lot of people was Jawar Jordan, somebody who committed last year, wasn't able to figure out eligibility in time. So then waited a year, came in this past February with signing day, last December with the early signing period. And then he's come on really strong in spring. I think he had a couple touchdowns over the weekend, and really everyone kind of remarked about the burst that he showed, right at the line. And that's something that I think Syracuse has had some of in recent years at the running back position, but hasn't really had that, really clear, definitive burst right at the onset. So we'll see how much playing time he gets this season. But if we have him as a third or fourth running back potentially, I really like what our backfield looks like.
John Casillo joining us from Noon's Magician. It's the SB Nation platform for Syracuse athletics, talking football, and Dino Babers and company trying to duplicate a 10-3 campaign last season. Of course, this is Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, where it's our aim to provide the best in discussion, debate, and analysis as we head toward August, John. So when you take all the different positional units into play, what do you feel good about? What do you need to see more of in August and hear good reports from?
I think offensive line is my biggest concern on that side. But again, they look pretty good in the spring. Take that for what it's worth. The defensive line is not necessarily going to be blitzing as much in a spring game. You're not really going to have sacks necessarily. But I think the offensive line is going to be interesting because there's going to be, a lot younger and inexperienced players getting worked in there. I think on the other side of the ball, linebackers, we replaced Keelan Whitner and Ryan Guthrie, who were last year's starters. This year, we're probably going to flex between a 4-3 and a 4-2-5. And we'll have inexperience there for sure, but we did last year. And I think by mid-year, they kind of figured it out. So I'm hoping that guys like Andrew Armstrong, Tyrell Richards, Lucky Williams, those guys kind of, get things sorted out by hopefully week 3 this year, since that's the Clemson game. Wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of an improved performance, but by that point. But we'll see. I think those are the two areas to watch. I think we do return a good amount of experience. I think the fact that we were involved in a few different one-sided matchups last year allowed us to get a lot of younger players on the field too, which is not a luxury we've had of late. So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic, to be honest. And I don't want to fool myself into thinking that this is automatically another 10-win campaign, but I think the pieces are there to do it if we can replace the few things that really need to be addressed.
John, is there a player or two or three, and I typically throw you this question, that you're excited to see, that you saw limited action from in 2018, or is completely off the radar because they redshirted or whatever the case might be, just excited to see a new guy break through?
I'm really excited to see Abdul Adams. He was an Oklahoma transfer who had to sit last year until the bowl game. Dino Babers was smart to use the new redshirt rules to his advantage. He got him in a little bit, and he's probably going to split carries with Mo Neal as a starting running back. I know at Oklahoma he was averaging, I think, well over 7 yards a carry before he transferred. So really excited to see him get some significant game minutes. Same goes for Tristan Jackson, a guy who sat out until the bowl game last year. Michigan State transfer, 6'1", 184, so bigger target. He caught a touchdown pass in the bowl game against West Virginia, somebody who could potentially be an option for Syracuse on the outside. And I think Tommy DeVito is probably going to work up a pretty good rapport with him. I think Tyrell Richards is, I mentioned him before, redshirt sophomore linebacker. He played some defensive line, like edge rusher last year, and he's the sort of guy that just has like freakish athleticism. There's been a couple articles already written about him in the spring. He's somebody who, if we play a 4-3 He's going to be that third linebacker, and I think that he can really, be a huge difference maker for this group. And I'm excited to see him in some extended minutes with the starting unit potentially.
All right, good stuff from John Cassillo from Noon's Magician. I encourage you to follow Syracuse, put them on the radar for this upcoming football season. Obviously, they broke out under Dino Babers with a top 15 finish, second in the ACC at 10-3. John, we appreciate you stopping by.
Of course. Thanks, Mark.